We've all heard it. Having kids are so expensive. And sure, raising children does come with some added costs, but is it really as unaffordable as people make it out to be? Today, I want to break down some common misconceptions about the cost of having children, and I also want to share what I found to be the real cost of parenting based on my own experience as a mom of two littles. Hi, my name is Tian and welcome to this channel. I'm a mom to a 3.5-year-old and a 1-year-old and just trying to juggle the integration of intentional motherhood and faith. So to cut to the chase, I believe the real cost of having kids is not actually financial, it's internal. Let's break that down. I want to start off affirming that there are added costs to every stage of parenthood. For example, in the first few years, even just diapers, clothes, and food can really add up. But what I've come to realize is that kids really do not need as much stuff as the world tries to tell us. Problem number one is our material expectations. We live in a culture that measures quality of life by material abundance. Instead of investigating what is it that we actually need, we default to increasing income so we could afford that bigger house or a second car, when really most of us have more square footage than we could ever use. Why do we need a living room and a family room? And why is our closet so massive that it can practically be a child's bedroom in another culture? And besides, does each child actually need their own room? If you're new to this channel, I actually was raised in China, and the first few years of my life I lived with my grandma, who back in the days in the 1950s and 1960s raised 6 kids. I just did a Chinese 6. This is how Chinese people do it. In America, you do this. How intuitive. Anyway, my grandma raised 6 kids in a 400 square feet bedroom slash living room combo, and almost all of them grew up in chronic poverty, many of whom did not know what it means to be full. Moving on to the next generation, I was raised by a single mom who was very resourceful and very capable, but still had to piece random things together in order to raise me. Before age 5, I could probably remember no more than 2 toys that I played with all the time, and I have a very vivid memory of one storybook that was flipped through so much that the pages fell apart more than a dozen times, so the book is more tapes than actual pages. The point I'm trying to illustrate is that raising kids does not require a huge income. It requires intentionality. If you've tried it, you'll know that hand-me-down clothes are perfectly fine. When it comes to toys, they really do not need a whole lot of toys. With all the abundance of options, what they really want to play with are my shoes or my pots and pans in my kitchen pantry. We spend almost no money on books because we always borrow from a library or buy it secondhand, and I am very diligent about toy rotation. Whenever we bring out those old toys that have been put away for about a month, for the kids it's like, wow, all new toys. In Luke chapter 12 verse 15, Jesus says, life does not consist in an abundance of possessions. Kids do not need the best things. If anything, having kids actually helped me learn how to budget better, be more disciplined in my meal planning and system building, and to steward everything we have more wisely. Common problem number 2 is the expectation on education. I would just cut to the chase and say that their educational option will never be as important as how you, as the parents, love and discipline your children. It doesn't matter what kind of school district your kids are in, or whether you homeschool, or how many extracurriculum you take them to, especially for parents of little kids, or if you're still considering if parenthood is for you. Here's a hard truth. Children are not necessarily bound to better chances just because they have a head start. There's so much pressure on parents to put their kids to all these extracurricular activities, all these sports and leagues as early on as possible. I personally have to actually go through a re-evaluation of this common belief, especially after reading the book Range. The best part about the book is helping me see that growth is not linear. It's not like if your kids have a head start at certain things that they will continue to stay the best at those things. One search away, you will see tons of evidence and studies and expert consensus that are against replacing free play with formal academics in the early years, because they simply did not lead to better social or academic outcomes. Contrary to popular beliefs, there's actually an abundance of evidence on how starting early might even hinder their ability to explore their interests and potentials. Just a quick reminder, if you are enjoying this video, please take a second to hit that like button because that'll help get the word out. Now let's move on to the next common reason people think having kids is expensive. expensive. And that is the pressure to match up. If you're like me, you're probably chronically stressed trying to match up to the families that look perfect on Instagram and YouTube. You need this new gadget or you need that new philosophy. Having kids really forces parents to ask ourselves, who are we? Seriously, what does our family actually value and what do we want to pursue? The question becomes more urgent because now we're not just trying to figure it out for ourselves, but we're also choosing the influence that our children are going to receive from us. As a family, we constantly have to stop and pray about, God, what do you want for our family? Or what is God calling us to in this season? Every once in a while, we have to just pause and let God pivot us in the direction that He wants our family to go. So that God is pointing the direction, not social media. Another common issue is that people believe that having kids will require a lot of lifestyle adjustments. They think that having kids is going to ruin their freedom or prevent them from enjoying life the way they used to. That is a very loud bike. The reality is that life changes, yes, but it doesn't end. Many families still travel, they still dine out, and they enjoy meaningful connections. You might have to adjust your itinerary, whereas in the past, if you're just a couple, you could honestly check like 7 spots in one day. But now with the kids, you might have to do 3, or in the past, you can just fly to a place and stay for 3 days, but now you have to stay for a whole week. These are all adjustments, and they're quite temporary, honestly, because once the kids grow up, they're going to be much more resilient. In fact, I know several families who travel with their really, really young kids, and they're more resilient than you think. So life does not end when you have kids, it just changes. Now let's talk about the actual cost of having kids. And that is the growth and transformation it requires of us. The biggest cost is not our wallet, it's my comfort, my pride, and my control, or to put it better, my illusion of control. In John chapter 15, verse 2, it says, He prunes every branch that bears fruit so that it will be even more fruitful. Motherhood is the ultimate pruning process. You lose sleep, you lose your perfect schedule, you lose the ability to control everything. Funny enough, I used to work in project management, so my work is all about control. I learned to master checklists, timelines, and contingencies, and then I became a mom. And control is a joke. I struggled so much in my first year being thrown off by motherhood, apart from just the hormonal side of things, and even dopamine disorders that I didn't realize I had associated with breastfeeding. I was haunted by this pressure to be the perfect mom, to match up to the image that I have about what it's like to be a mom. I drove myself crazy. Motherhood revealed in me all the things I didn't know existed, the good and the bad. And being completely transparent, my pregnancy was a surprise. And it's the best surprise I have ever had. If it were up to me, all the dirt and the junk I buried in me for all those years could have stayed hidden for much longer. But God had His timing. He not only blessed me with now 2 beautiful children, but these gifts of children just keep on giving. They continue to bring out things in me that I did not know I have. All the trauma I've experienced, all the coping mechanisms that I have built up over the years to try to protect myself from being hurt again. Being a mom is like poking right at it every day. In some ways, I feel more broken than ever before, but in other ways, I feel stronger than ever before because I've admitted that I cannot do this by myself except through God's strength. Because of becoming a mom, I have found this drive to do better, that fire that cannot be put out. Some days that fire might be a little bit dim. I want to be refined. I want to do better because my children deserve a mom who tries for them. In a time and age when we're so obsessed with self-improvement, I think many people are waiting for the day when we become better or more ready to have kids so that we don't transfer all these problems to our kids. I think that's a very beautiful self-awareness that we're starting to build, but children do not need perfect parents. They need parents that try. Instead of seeing their parents have it all together, they almost need to see parents do it imperfectly, repent, and try again, because that teaches them the reality of the lives that they're about to live. We don't exemplify perfection. We exemplify trying again. For a very career-driven person like me who used to work a very visible job to now becoming a mom, staying at home with my 2 littles and wiping bottoms all day. No one sees the dishes that I did. No one sees the diapers that I've changed. And no one sees the time and time again I have to hold my tongue and take deep breaths. I had learned to work as unto the Lord. Caring for my children is not as visible, but it means a lot to my kids and it means a lot to God that I stay very faithful. And what if the greatest thing I would have accomplished in this lifetime is simply to teach my kids about the Lord and teach them that there is a way out of the fallen brokenness of this world, and that is Jesus. And it takes days and months and years of sifting and refining for me to be able to gain the kind of peace that I have with God, with whatever season He's called me to and wherever He planted me. And through that, I believe that God is shaping me into the person He's meant me to be, diaper by diaper. So when people say, kids are expensive, I want to say, yes, absolutely. But what you get in turn makes it beyond worth it. If you ask me, would I do it all over again? Would I go through all the pain that I did? I would absolutely do it. I would not so hard that I get blurry in this footage. In Psalm 127 verse 3, it says, children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from Him. Kids are not a burden, no matter how this world tries to tell you. They're a blessing, they're hopes, and they teach us to see the world as new again. For the lack of a better term, I often think of being a parent as an investment, investing into this image bearers that can go out in the world and bring God's light into whatever places, people, or job that they're called to. It costs something, in fact, a lot from a mom, but it multiplies in ways we cannot imagine. We pour out our time, but in turn we're filled with purpose. We might lose our comfort, but we find our callings. So if you're a mom wondering, do I have what it takes? Or if you don't have kids and you're wondering, can I even afford this? I'll just leave you with this. God does not call the equipped. He equips the called. And if He has called you to motherhood, He will provide financially and spiritually. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below on what you think about this topic. Before you leave, please be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!